Panther fans? How we doing? So, thank you for everybody who came out for the stream last night. First stream of the year. Very, very successful. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate all the super chats. That's always nice to see. You know, the electric bill was $600 last month. Now, before we get started, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Check out flyingfluffy.com. Got a couple of new articles coming out there today. And as hockey season gets moving, the other creators will pop on and start having some other articles and videos. It's flyingfluffy.com. So today, they finished up the second day of camp for the Panthers. And I just kind of wanted to give my take on a few of the things that I'm seeing. It does appear as though, number one, that Coach Maurice is not easing. He's not going to ease these guys into wanting to play a tougher physical game. Both practices, both days, had ended with 30 minutes of basically beating the crap out of each other along the boards and a ton of skating, leaving guys a little bit bent over. But Maurice specifically said that he was very happy with how everybody came to camp in shape. So that's a good thing. Couple of lineup things that are, you know, it's early but worth noting. On day one, opposite Verhaeghe and Barkov, you had Balcers, and then you had Reinhart a little bit there. And on the third line, when Reinhart went back and skated with Lundell, they had Cousins in Marchman's old spot. So I found that interesting. And of course, it's early, and he's trying to, you know, see who's going to fit with who. And my eye is on where's Patrick Hornquist and what's going on with the fourth line. And it really does look as though they're going to give Eric Stahl a genuine opportunity. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that when Mark Stahl signed, he said, hey, give my brother a real chance. And they said, okay. So he has been centering the fourth line in the first unit. Now, I'm not a huge fan of that. Not going to lie. He didn't play last season. The previous 3 years, you didn't play a whole lot of hockey, and he was a -60 collectively in those 3 years. For those of you who aren't big on statistics, that's not good. I hate to say it, but I hope we don't end up stuck there. I hope that somebody else can take that position. Now, on the other hand, beggars can't be choosers, and we know that we have to do something if we want to be able to bring Duclair back. We have to do something to fit Eric Stahl on the team because we're over the cap. So somebody at some point is going to have to go somewhere. But I've been watching for where they've put Hornquist to kind of give me a hint to that, and he's where you would expect him to be on the fourth line, alternating there with Luosterainen, which is interesting because Luosterainen was the other guy that Stu and I talked about might become a cap kind of casualty as we try to fit, you know, make space to fit everybody on the roster. Another thing that Stu mentioned, that coach actually mentioned, interestingly enough, in the last video, Stu thought about, hey, why don't we try Lundell at wing? And it's almost as though Coach watched the video and said, hey, why don't we try Lundell at wing? Now, we haven't seen it a whole lot, but basically what Coach said was, I might give it a shot. You know, I might be interested in trying him up there if I wanted to go with a top-heavy lineup while Duclair is out. I'm not completely against it, let's face it. Barkov with Lundell and Verhaeghe, yes, please. But where does that, you know, what does that do to the rest of the lineup? Now, Tkachuk and Bennett have been together. I believe Colin White, from what I'm hearing, I believe Colin White's going to get that spot. He seems to fit in good with those guys. Now, in my season preview, I kind of thought maybe White would get the top spot, but it sounds more likely that he's going to fit in with Tkachuk and Bennett. I liked what I saw of White. If you watch the videos over the course of the season, like when they asked me last night on the stream, who did I think was going to be the surprising player for the Panthers, other than Lucas Carlson in terms of forwards, Colin White is the guy, and I think he fits right in. To me, that's the one line I think that, it's too early to say anything's a lock, but that seems to be fitting there. As usual, we just don't know who's going to be next to Barkov on that wing. Without Duclair, with Duclair, that question's answered. And then you don't know, are we counting on Duclair coming back or not? Because again, that's a salary cap issue that we have to deal with. A little bit concerned there. I've mentioned that before. Duclair's game is speed. Even if he does come back February from an Achilles, he's not going to be the same player. It's going to take him a while to play into shape. So you might think that means you want to be able to bring him back so that he's, in shape for the playoffs. But there's only a couple of guys that we could move to make room for Duclair to come back. So coach is kind of considering maybe putting Lundell up there. So if you had Barkov with Lundell and Verhaeghe, and then Bennett with Kachuk and White, you'd slot Reinhardt in at 3C, and then it gets a little bit dicey with who you're putting down there because we're out of room to add. We're going to have to deal with what we have there. So my opinion, my thought, my hope is that they're giving Eric Stahl that playing time now, right? And then as we get closer to the end of camp, they would say, yeah, sorry, Eric, doesn't look like you're going to make the team, and skedoodle him. So what else did we see? Obviously, Ekblad with Forsling. Haven't heard a whole lot about what the other defensive pairs have been. I've seen a few people mentioning that Matt Kiersted looks good out there on the ice, and that's good to see. I liked him when he came up the first time, and then last year, I don't know if it was because he kind of figured there wasn't a spot for him, but he didn't look all that good last year. What I've heard is that he's been working really, really hard, and so far he looks pretty good. So that 7D position might look a little bit more solid there. Kiersted was good when he first came up. Other than that, we haven't really seen anything set in stone in terms of Carlson and Montour and Gudis and Stahl. We haven't really seen, and I don't suspect we'll know that until we get into the later on portion of the preseason. A couple of things. Did you see Barkov at his press conference? I'm telling you, this is what happened. Barkov saw how jacked I looked in the Crazy Bill video, and he figured if that dude who's always giving me shit can look like that at 51, he immediately went to the gym. So you're welcome for that. I told you, I only bitch about him because I'm trying to motivate him. And I feel it better be that Huberdeau and Weegar getting blown out of town might finally click the light on in Barkov's head and say, oh, you know what? Maybe I better stop being such a nice guy because that didn't work out so well so far. So he's jacked up. If you didn't see the interview, you're having trouble hearing it because he's soft-spoken, so it's hard to hear him. But just look at his shoulders and arms. That does all the speaking you need, right? Forget about what he said. Just look at his upper body. He clearly understood this offseason that he needed to get stronger. One thing I was a little bit disappointed about, and I hope I'm making too big of a deal of this. We all saw Lundell struggled physically last year. He got hurt a couple of times, didn't look strong enough, got pulled in the playoffs. Then coach said, hey, we know that we're going to get Lundell in the gym. He's going to get bigger, put some strong, get muscle on him and improve that way. I saw Lundell. He didn't look any different. He didn't look any bigger, really. And when they asked him, I think it was James and Olive asked him, he said, no, he didn't do anything different. He had the same trainers, the same workout regimen, trying to get stronger and have more power, etc. So I know he was working. But in terms of stacking on some weight, like we saw Huberdeau do after his Achilles injury, that's not where Lundell went just yet. So maybe he's more dense, right? He didn't get bigger, but maybe he's gotten stronger and more powerful. Let's hope that's the case. But I was kind of hoping to see a noticeable difference in size in him like we do with Barkov. That didn't happen, so we'll see where he goes. It might work to his advantage if coach is going to put him at wing. I mean, we are stacked at center. Let's just be honest there, okay? We could put Lundell at wing and still run with Barkov, Bennett, and Reinhardt. Okay, so I mean we're loaded at center. So I don't mind giving Lundell a shot up there as long as it doesn't hurt his development as a center, right? Because eventually you think that's where he's going to be. But on the other hand, Barkov with Lundell, you guys saw it on the penalty kill last year. So we'll see how this goes. It's only been 2 days. They're gassed though, man. Or their coach is gassing them basically at the end of practice. It's not quite a bag skate like Hugh did, but I like to see it. I like to see it. But he's also been very positive. Maurice has been about the shape the guys are in. He's been being very complimentary that the guys are taking it. You know, he's not being like a Tortorella in Philadelphia coming out there and saying these guys need to be in better shape or something shitty like that. He's been very supportive. It's a perfect mix. I like what I see so far. So, all right, that's it for today. Short and sweet. Make sure, again, you check out the website, flyingfluffy.com. I've been knocking out a lot of articles. It's not just hockey stuff. There's non-sports stories. Kyle does some good writing on there. I cover football and the Dolphins. Timmy's done some stuff. And I know we have some other articles coming from the other writers soon. The first Panthers preseason games are 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock Monday against Nashville. I have not heard. I'm going to ask around today. I don't know if it's going to be on TV, if it's just going to be streamed, how we're going to see the games. Once I know if and how we can see the games, then watch the community posts on this channel, and I will let you guys know how I'm going to be able to cover that. At the very worst, I'll do one recap for both games, but I might sneak something else in there. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Appreciate all the support. Thanks again for coming out for the live stream yesterday. And unless something happens, that'll be it for today. But we're back to one a day at least. We're at least one video a day until the season comes. And then it's three a day. So I'm glad summer's over.